the silent hunter. The old barn stood empty on the edge of town. Nobody went there anymore. Weeds grew tall around it, and the red paint was falling off in big pieces. But inside, something special was happening. Camilla Hope walked into the barn carrying a heavy black bag. Her boots made soft sounds on the dirt floor. She looked around the empty space and smiled. This would be perfect. She had been planning this for weeks. Ever since her father, General Elijah Hope, had died, she felt lost. He was the one who taught her everything about guns and shooting. He was also the one who always said women could be just as good as men at anything. But the men at the Red Line Range didn't think so. They laughed when women tried to join their club. They made jokes and said mean things. Camilla's father had tried to change their minds, but they kicked him out instead. Now Camilla had a plan to show them they were wrong. She opened her bag and took out her favorite gun, a simple black pistol. It wasn't fancy like the ones the rich men used, but it worked perfectly. Her father had given it to her on her 18th birthday. "Practice makes perfect," she said to herself, remembering his words. For the next 3 hours, Camilla practiced in the barn. She set up old cans and bottles as targets. She shot from different places, standing up, lying down, even while moving around. Every shot hit exactly where she wanted it to. The next morning, Camilla drove to the Red Line Range. It was a big, expensive building made of glass and steel. Rich men in fancy cars were parking outside. They wore expensive clothes and talked loudly about their guns and their money. Camilla parked her old truck between 2 shiny black cars. She got out wearing simple jeans and a plain shirt. She carried a small case and walked toward the building. Inside, everything was perfect and clean. The walls were covered with pictures of men holding guns and trophies. There were glass cases full of expensive weapons. Everything smelled like leather and gun oil. Camilla walked up to the front desk. The woman behind it looked at her with surprise. "Can I help you?" the woman asked. She looked at Camilla's simple clothes and seemed confused. "I want to enter the shooting contest," Camilla said quietly. The woman laughed. "I'm sorry, but this is a very serious competition. It's for expert shooters only." Camilla reached into her pocket and pulled out a letter. It was old and yellowed with age. "My father signed this 3 years ago. It gives me the right to compete." The woman read the letter. Her face changed when she saw the name at the bottom. "General Elijah Hope," she whispered. Other people in the room heard the name and turned to look. Everyone knew about General Hope. He was a war hero and one of the best shooters in the country. But they also knew he had been kicked out of the club. "Is that really your father?" a big man asked. He had muscles like a bodybuilder and tattoos covering his arms. This was Arnell Baker, the best shooter at the club. He had won every contest for the last 6 years. "Yes," Camilla said simply. Arnell laughed. "Well, little girl, just because your daddy could shoot doesn't mean you can. This isn't a game. We use real guns here." Camilla looked at him with calm eyes. "I know." The woman at the desk checked her computer. The letter was real and it was legal. She had to let Camilla enter the contest. "Fine," she said. "You can compete. But don't blame us when you get scared and run away." Camilla was given lane number 13, far away from all the other shooters. It was supposed to be bad luck, but she didn't care about luck. She only cared about hitting her targets. She opened her case and took out her gun. It was old and had scratches on it, but it was clean and well-maintained. The other men looked at it and laughed. "That old thing?" one of them said. "My gun cost more than your truck." Camilla ignored them. She loaded her gun and got ready to shoot. The first target was easy, a paper circle 50 feet away. She took a deep breath, aimed, and fired. The bullet hit the exact center of the target. The laughing stopped. "Lucky shot," Arnell said, but his voice wasn't as confident as before. The second target was harder, a metal plate that moved back and forth. Camilla watched it for a few seconds, learning its pattern. Then she fired again. Another perfect hit. Now everyone was watching her. The room was very quiet. The third target was the hardest of all. It was a small metal disc far away, and the wind was blowing it around. Most people missed this one completely. Camila closed her eyes for a moment. She could hear her father's voice in her head. Don't fight the wind, daughter. Work with it. Feel it, understand it, and use it. She opened her eyes, aimed, and fired. The sound of the bullet hitting metal rang through the room. Perfect shot again. Now the men weren't laughing anymore. They were staring at her with surprise and maybe a little fear. This quiet woman in simple clothes was better than any of them expected. Beginner's luck, Arnell said loudly, but his hands were shaking a little. The contest went on for 3 more rounds. Each time, the targets got harder and farther away. Each time, Camila hit them perfectly. She never missed, never hesitated, never showed any fear. Arnell was good too. He had years of practice and expensive equipment. But Camila was better. Her shots were cleaner, more accurate, more consistent. She made it look easy. By the end of the day, Camila had won every round. The final score wasn't even close. She had beaten Arnell and everyone else by a huge margin. The room was silent as the scores were announced. Nobody knew what to say. This had never happened before. Arnell's face was red with anger and embarrassment. He had been the champion for 6 years. Now he had been beaten by a woman nobody had heard of. This isn't over, he said to Camila as she packed up her gun. You got lucky today, but luck doesn't last forever. Camila looked at him calmly. It wasn't luck, she said. It was practice. She walked out of the building without celebrating or bragging. She didn't need to. Her shooting had said everything that needed to be said. Outside, an old man was waiting by her truck. He was thin and gray-haired, wearing a military uniform with many medals. You're Elijah's daughter, he said. It wasn't a question. Yes, sir, Camila replied. I served with your father in the war. He was the best soldier I ever knew, and the best man too. The old soldier smiled. He would be very proud of you today. Thank you, sir. What will you do now? He asked. Camila thought for a moment. I think I'll open my own shooting school. A place where anyone can learn, regardless of who they are. The old soldier nodded. That sounds like something your father would do. Camila drove home thinking about her father. She missed him every day, but today she felt close to him. She had done what he always taught her to do, prove herself through actions, not words. The next morning, the newspapers were full of stories about the shooting contest. Unknown woman defeats 6-time champion. Daughter of disgraced general makes comeback. The silent hunter strikes. Camila didn't read the newspapers. She was too busy looking for a place to start her school. She found an old building on the edge of town. It used to be a factory, but it had been empty for years. It was perfect, big enough for multiple shooting lanes, with high ceilings and thick walls. She spent the next month fixing it up. She painted the walls, installed proper lighting, and built safe shooting ranges. She didn't have much money, but she worked hard and did most of the work herself. Word spread quickly about her school. The first students were veterans who had served with her father. They came because they respected him and wanted to learn from his daughter. Then came the women. They had heard about what happened at the Red Line Range, and they wanted to learn to shoot too. Camila taught them patiently, just like her father had taught her. Soon, her school was full every day. People came from all over the state to learn from the woman who had beaten Arnell Baker. But Camila didn't talk about that day unless someone asked. She was more interested in teaching than in being famous. Meanwhile, things were not going well for Arnell. People found out that he had been cheating in contests for years. He had been bribing judges and sabotaging other competitors' equipment. When the truth came out, he was banned from all shooting competitions. The Red Line Range also had problems. Many members quit after hearing about the cheating. They were ashamed to be part of a club that treated people unfairly. The club's reputation was ruined. 6 months after the contest, the Red Line Range was forced to close. The building was sold, and the fancy equipment was auctioned off. Arnell lost his job and his reputation. He left and was never seen again. Camila heard about this, but she didn't feel happy about it. She had never wanted to destroy anyone. She just wanted to prove that her father was right. Anyone could be a great shooter with enough practice and determination. Her school continued to grow. She hired other instructors, including some of the men who had left the Red Line Range when they learned about the cheating. These men apologized to her and asked if they could help teach. "Everyone deserves a second chance," Camila told them. "My father believed that, and so do I." One day, Rebecca Johnston came to visit the school. She had been a judge at the Red Line Range, and she was one of the few people there who had treated Camila fairly. "I have something for you," Rebecca said. She handed Camila a wooden box. Inside the box was a medal. It was old and tarnished, but still beautiful. The inscription read, "For excellence in marksmanship, General Elijah Hope." "This was your father's," Rebecca explained. "He left it at the club when they kicked him out. I've been keeping it safe, waiting for the right time to return it." Camila held the medal carefully. Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't cry. Her father had taught her to be strong. "Thank you," she whispered. "He was a good man," Rebecca said. "And you're just like him." That evening, Camila hung the medal on the wall of her office. Next to it, she put up a picture of her father in his military uniform. Below the picture, she mounted a small sign that read, "Practice, patience, and respect, the foundation of excellence." Years passed. Camila's school became famous throughout the country. Students came from everywhere to learn her methods. She taught them not just how to shoot, but how to be disciplined, focused, and respectful. Many of her students went on to win competitions and serve in the military. But Camila was most proud of the students who used their skills to help others. The women who became police officers, the veterans who found peace through shooting, the young people who learned confidence and self-control. One day, a young girl came to the school with her mother. The girl was shy and scared, but she wanted to learn to shoot. "Why do you want to learn?" Camila asked gently. "Because I want to be brave like you," the girl said. Camila smiled. "You don't need a gun to be brave. Bravery comes from inside. But I can teach you to be focused and disciplined, and those things will help you be brave in everything you do." The girl became one of Camila's best students. She practiced every day and never gave up, even when things were difficult. She reminded Camila of herself when she was young. 10 years after the contest at the Red Line Range, Camila received a letter from the governor of the state. He wanted to give her an award for her contributions to the community. The ceremony would be held at the state capitol, with hundreds of people watching. Camila almost said no. She didn't like big crowds or fancy ceremonies. But then she thought about her father and all the people who had helped her along the way. Maybe it was time to accept some recognition. The ceremony was held on a sunny Saturday morning. Camila wore a simple black dress and her father's medal. She walked up to the podium feeling nervous but proud. "Ladies and gentlemen," the governor said, "it is my honor to present the State Award for Excellence in Community Service to Camila Hope." The crowd applauded loudly. Camila stepped forward to accept the award. "Thank you," she said into the microphone. Her voice was quiet but clear. "This award doesn't belong to me alone. It belongs to my father, who taught me everything I know. It belongs to my students, who work hard every day to improve themselves. And it belongs to everyone who believes that with practice and determination, anything is possible." She paused and looked out at the crowd. In the front row, she saw many of her students. They were smiling and clapping proudly. "My father once told me that the best victories are the quiet ones," she continued. "The ones where you don't need to brag or boast, because your actions speak for themselves." Today, I hope his actions and mine speak for the belief that everyone deserves a chance to succeed. Camila made regardless of where they come from or what they look like. The stars were bright overhead, gave her a standing ovation, and the air was still Camila and calm. Smiled and waved. She thought about her father and all the lessons he had taught her. She felt her father's presence. The most important one wasn't about shooting at all. He would be proud. It was about staying true to yourself, no matter what other people came up to talk to her. She finished her tea and went inside, and tomorrow would be another day of opportunities. Another Camila was more interested in talking to her students and their families. It was good work, meaningful work, and she was grateful to be able to do it. Her of herself in her bedroom, she looked at the old photograph of her. The girl had brought a paper target with all 10 shots. They were both smiling, both
It was
proud,
perfect shooting,
both ready to
I'm
face
proud of
whatever
you,
came next.
Camila said
Thank
as
you,
she
Dad.
signed the target. She whispered
But
to the
remember,
picture,
the real
"For
target
everything
is becoming
then
the best
she turned off
person
the
you
light
can be.
and went to sleep.
Everything else is
dreaming
just
of
practice.
targets and students,
The girl nodded
and the endless
seriously
possibilities
and
that
carefully
came with
folded
each
the
new
target.
day.
As
As
the
the story
sun
of
set
Camila
that evening
Hope
and the red
Camila
line
drove
range
back
had
to her
become a
school.
legend in
She
shooting
walked
circles.
through the empty building,
People told it differently
checking
each
each
time.
shooting lane and making
Sometimes
sure
she was
everything
described
was
as a
secure for the
superhero.
night.
In her office,
Sometimes as an
she
avenging
sat
angel,
down at her desk
sometimes
and
as
opened
a
a letter
mysterious
that had
stranger
arrived
who
that
appeared
morning.
from nowhere.
It was from a
But the
young
people
woman
who
in
knew her
another
best,
state
her
who wanted to
students,
start
her
her
friends,
own
the
shooting
veterans
school.
who remembered her
Dear
father,
Miss Hope,
they
the
knew the
letter
real
began.
truth.
I
She
heard
wasn't
about
a
what you did
superhero
at the
or a
Red Line
legend.
Range, and
She
I
was
heard
just
about
a
your
woman
school.
who had learned to
I
shoot
want to do
straight,
something similar
work
in my
hard,
town, and
could
treat
you help me
everyone
get
with
started?
respect.
And
Camila
in the
smiled
end,
and
that
reached
was
for a
more
pen.
powerful than
She
any
would write
legend
back
could
tonight
ever be.
and offer whatever
Years
help
later,
she
when
could.
people asked
Her
Camila
father's
about
legacy
that day
would
at the Red
continue to
Line
grow,
Range,
one
she would
student
smile
at a
and give
time.
them the same answer
Outside,
every time.
the wind
I just
rustled
did
through
what
the
my
trees.
father taught me to
It was
do.
the same wind
I
that
practiced
had
until
blown
I was
across
ready.
the targets on
I
that
stayed
day
calm
10
under
years ago
pressure,
when everything
and
changed.
I let my actions
But
speak
now
for
it felt
themselves.
different.
Anyone
Not
can
like
do
an
the
obstacle
same
to
thing
overcome,
if they're willing to
but
put
like
in
an
the
old
work.
friend saying
And
hello.
she was right. Camila
In her
finished
school,
her letter
she
and
proved
turned
it
off
every
the
day,
lights.
one student
Tomorrow
at a time,
would bring
one
new
shot at a
students,
time, one
new
lesson
challenges,
at a time.
and
A
new
quiet
opportunities
revolution
to
that had
teach and
started
learn.
with a single perfect
She was ready
shot
for all
continued
of
to
it.
spread.
As she
Carried
locked the
forward
door
by
and
everyone
walked to
who
her truck,
learned that true strength
she thought
comes
about
not
the
from
journey
the
that
loudest
had brought her
voice or the
here.
biggest
It
weapon.
had started with
but from
anger
the
and
confidence
loss
that comes with
but it
knowing
had grown
exactly
into
who you
something
are
much more
and
positive.
what you can do.
Hope
And that lesson,
community, like the
and the
memory
quiet
of General
satisfaction
Elijah
of
Hope
helping
and the
others find
legacy
their
of
own
his
strength.
remarkable daughter.
She drove
would
home
last
through the
forever.
peaceful night, past fields and farms and sleeping houses. In the distance, she could see the lights of the city where the Red Line Range used to stand. Now there was a community center there with programs for kids and families. The building had found a better purpose.